Captain Naomi Winters stood frozen at the helm of the GCS Hyperion, her eyes fixed on the impossible reading before her. 20 years of deep space patrol had taught her to trust her instincts, and right now, every fiber of her being screamed that something was terribly wrong. "Run the scan again," she ordered, her voice steady despite the growing unease in her chest. Lieutenant Reed's fingers flew across the holographic interface, initiating another sweep of the anomaly that had appeared at the edge of their sensor range. "Same results, Captain," Reed reported, his antennae twitching nervously. "The object maintains zero electromagnetic signature, no heat emission, no radiation trace. By all normal physics, it shouldn't exist." The main viewport shifted, focusing on a patch of space that seemed to bend around itself. At first glance, it appeared empty, but there was something there, a darkness deeper than the void, a shape that refused to be seen directly. "Contact Confederation Command," Winters commanded, straightening her midnight blue uniform. "Priority Alpha." Before communications officer Zaravas could relay the message, every screen on the bridge flickered simultaneously. The ship's AI, usually a constant presence, went silent. In the sudden quiet, a soft hum filled the air, more felt than heard. "Multiple contacts," Reed shouted, his professional demeanor cracking. They're everywhere." The viewport lit up with dozens of signatures, each one as impossible as the first. They moved with impossible grace, their hulls seeming to absorb rather than reflect light. They were beautiful in their terror, like predators evolved beyond the need for camouflage. A message cut through their communications, bypassing every encryption protocol as if they didn't exist. "We are the children of Helios. You buried our world in darkness. Now we return to show you what darkness truly means." Winters felt her blood run cold. The Helios civilization, it was impossible. They had been wiped out in the Great Purge 3 centuries ago, when the newly formed Confederation had deemed their technology too dangerous to exist. Every historical record confirmed their extinction. "Captain," Voss called out, her dark skin pale with shock. "They're broadcasting on all frequencies, all channels. Every ship, every colony, every world in the sector is receiving this." The main ship, if it could be called that, shifted position. It moved like liquid shadow, defying every known law of physics. Its surface rippled with patterns that hurt to look at directly, glyphs that seemed to write themselves in the fabric of space-time. "This is Captain Naomi Winters of the Galactic Confederation ship Hyperion," she broadcast, her voice clear and diplomatic. "We recognize your presence in it." "No," the voice interrupted, "neither male nor female, neither young nor old. You do not recognize us. You erased us, deleted our existence from your archives, taught your children we were a myth. We are not here for recognition." Tactical Officer Kai Chen's console erupted in warnings. "Captain, they're scanning us. But not like anything I've seen. It's like they're reading our atomic structure, our quantum states. Even the computer can't comprehend the technology." Winters made a decision. "All hands to battle stations. Initiate emergency protocol." The ship shuddered, not from an impact, but from something far more disturbing. Every system on the Hyperion simultaneously displayed the same message. "We remember everything." Then the images began. They flooded every screen, every personal device, every neural implant. They showed the truth of the Great Purge, not the sanitized version taught in Confederation schools, but the raw horror of reality. The Helios civilization, peaceful and advanced, had offered to share their technology with the galaxy. The Confederation, fearing the loss of their political and military dominance, had responded with genocide. The bridge crew watched in horror as the footage played, showing Confederation warships darkening the skies of the Helios homeworld, unleashing weapons that turned planets to ash. But some had survived, hidden in the spaces between stars, evolving, advancing, waiting. "Send word to command," Winters ordered, her voice barely a whisper. Tell them the ghosts have returned." But before Voss could send the message, the Helios ships moved. They didn't accelerate. They simply were somewhere, and then they were somewhere else. The laws of physics seemed to bow before them like curtains in a breeze. Multiple signatures detected in the Arcturus sector, Chen reported, his voice shaking. The Vega system, the Carina expanse, they're appearing everywhere. It's like they've been here all along, just waiting to be seen. The original vessel, the one that had first appeared, transmitted once more. For 3 centuries, you built your empire on the foundation of our supposed extinction. You celebrated your victory over us in grand parades. You claimed our destruction was necessary for peace. Now we return, not for revenge, but for justice. The truth cannot be buried forever. Winters watched as the impossible ships danced through space, their movements beautiful and terrible. She understood, with crystal clarity, that this was not just first contact with a lost civilization. This was the beginning of a reckoning. Send to all ships in the sector, she ordered, her voice finding its strength again. Message begins. We have witnessed the return of the Helios. The day of judgment has arrived. May whatever gods you believe in have mercy on us all. As the message was sent, the Helios ships began to move in perfect synchronization. They weren't attacking, not yet. They were revealing themselves across the galaxy, showing the Confederation exactly what they had failed to destroy. Their very presence was a message. You thought you could erase us from history, but we have become something far greater than what you tried to destroy. In the silence that followed, Captain Winters realized that everything she had known, everything she had served to protect, had been built on a foundation of lies. And now those lies were about to crumble before an enemy that had transcended the very concepts of war and peace. The reckoning had begun, and the galaxy would never be the same. Former Admiral Marcus Drake stood in the depths of the Confederation archives, surrounded by ancient data crystals and quantum storage units. At 73, his silver hair and lined face spoke of decades of service, but his eyes burned with an intensity that belied his age. The message from Captain Winters had reached him 6 hours ago, and he hadn't slept since. Show me the Helios records, he commanded. The archive's AI hummed to life, projecting a holographic display. Authentication. Drake, Marcus J., former Grand Admiral, access code Theta 97 Echo. Access denied, the AI responded smoothly. Those records are sealed under Directive 17. Drake's jaw tightened. He'd expected this. Reaching into his pocket, he withdrew a small device, a gift from his late wife, Dr. Lyra Drake, the Confederation's former chief archivist. Override protocol, Phoenix Rising. The archives flickered, and suddenly the room was flooded with data. The truth he'd suspected for decades materialized before him in stark, horrifying detail. The Helios hadn't been aggressors. They hadn't threatened the Confederation. They had simply been too advanced, too different, too dangerous to the established order. Admiral Drake, a voice called from the shadows. He turned to find Colonel Rhea Patel, her dark uniform blending with the dim light. I hoped I'd find you here. They lied to us all, Drake said, his voice heavy. 3 centuries of propaganda, and now the ghosts have returned to haunt us. Patel moved closer, her cybernetic eye glowing faintly. The Helios ships have appeared in 17 more systems. The Arcturus defense fleet just went dark. No destruction, no debris, they simply vanished. Drake gestured to the holographic displays. Look at this, Colonel. The Helios weren't just advanced, they had discovered something fundamental about reality itself. They called it the void harmony. Their ships didn't move through space, they moved with it, like dancers anticipating their partner's next step. The archive shimmered with ancient footage, Helios cities that seemed to breathe, buildings that grew and shifted like living things, ships that moved like thoughts given form. And then came the darkness, Confederation warships darkening skies, unleashing weapons that turned wonder to ash. Sir, Patel said quietly, I've received word from others. Officers, scientists, historians, people who've suspected the truth. They're organizing, gathering. The Confederation's lies are unraveling. Drake nodded slowly. The High Council will try to bury this again. They'll claim the Helios are imposters, terrorists, anything but what they truly are, the survivors of our greatest shame. A new alert flashed across the archive displays. The Helios ships had appeared at Centauri Prime, the Confederation's most heavily defended core world. But they hadn't attacked. Instead, they had broadcast the truth, not just recordings, but the actual quantum signatures of historical events, preserved in the fabric of space-time itself. They're not here for revenge, Drake realized, his voice barely a whisper. They're here to wake us up. Across the sector, the impact was immediate. The Centauri Defense Fleet, led by Admiral Jun Zhao, refused orders to fire on the Helios vessels. 3 colonial governors declared independence from the Confederation. And in the depths of supposedly empty space, ancient signals began to pulse, hidden Helios enclaves, revealing themselves after centuries of silence. Patel's comm unit chimed. "Sir, you need to see this." She projected a new image, massive crowds gathering in the streets of New Terra, the Confederation capital. They weren't rioting. They were silent, watching as the truth of their history played out in the sky above them. "They're going to come for us," Drake said, already moving. "The Council won't let this stand. Colonel, contact everyone you trust. Tell them." He paused, looking at the ancient records one last time. "Tell them it's time to choose sides." As if in response to his words, the archive systems suddenly pulsed with new energy. Every screen, every hologram shifted, showing a single message in the elegant script of the Helios. "To those who seek truth, we see you." The message spread like wildfire through the Confederation's neural networks. On 1,000 worlds, people began to question. In military bases and civilian homes, on starships and space stations, the carefully constructed narrative of 3 centuries began to crack. Drake accessed his secure channel, broadcasting to the growing network of dissidents. "This is former Grand Admiral Marcus Drake. For 300 years, we've lived with a lie. The Helios weren't our enemies, they were our future, and we destroyed them out of fear. But some survived, evolved, waited. Now they've returned, not for vengeance, but for justice. The choice before us is simple: face the truth or repeat our ancestors' mistakes." In the new Geneva Military Academy, cadets walked out of their classes en masse. On the frontier world of Nova Praha, colonists disabled the planetary defense grid rather than fire on Helios vessels. The Tau Ceti Science Institute publicly released centuries of suppressed research on Helios technology. But the Confederation wasn't going to fall without a fight. High Command activated Protocol Omega, calling in every fleet, mobilizing every reserve. They branded Drake and his growing movement as traitors, claiming they had been corrupted by alien influence. In orbit around Centauri Prime, the Helios ships continued their silent vigil. They didn't need to attack. Their very presence was a weapon against centuries of lies. Their technology defied understanding, ships that moved like thought, weapons that didn't destroy but transformed, communications that ignored the very concept of encryption. "Colonel," Drake said, "securing the archive's data in portable quantum cores, contact Captain Winters. Tell her to bring the Hyperion to these coordinates. It's time to show the galaxy that not all of humanity chose to forget." As they prepared to leave, one final message echoed through the archives. "The darkness preserved us, taught us, changed us. Now we return to light the way forward. Choose wisely, children of Earth. The future remembers." Across the stars, the revolution had begun. Not with weapons or armies, but with truth, a truth that had waited 3 centuries to be heard. The Phantom Fleet had returned, and with them came a choice: face the shadows of the past, or be consumed by them. Drake looked at Patel, seeing the same determination in her eyes that he felt in his heart. "The real war," he said quietly, "isn't between us and the Helios. It's between truth and lies, between what we've become and what we could be." Above them, the stars seemed to pulse with new energy, as if the universe itself was holding its breath, waiting to see what humanity would choose. The reckoning had begun, and there would be no turning back. Commander Jun Zhao stood on the bridge of the Confederation dreadnought Eternal Dawn, watching as another fleet joined the growing rebellion. Through the viewport, she could see the massive ships of the 7th Battle Group powering down their weapons, their crews choosing truth over loyalty to a corrupt regime. "Status report," she demanded, her augmented eye scanning tactical readouts. 15 more capital ships have gone dark in the Proxima sector, Lieutenant Owen Bishop reported, his hands steady on the neural interface. They're broadcasting Drake's message on all frequencies. The Helios ships they're just watching. Zhao had made her choice 3 days ago when the truth about the genocide had first emerged. Now, as commander of the largest rebel fleet in the sector, she faced the consequences of that decision. The Eternal Dawn, once the pride of the Confederation Navy, had become a symbol of resistance. New contact. Bishop's voice cracked. It's different. The bridge crew fell silent as a new vessel emerged from what appeared to be a fold in space itself. Unlike the other Helios ships, this one gleamed with internal light, its hull translucent like crystal. As it approached, Zhao could see what looked like a forest growing inside it, a complete ecosystem contained within a warship. "They're hailing us," Communications Chief Diana Rodriguez announced. "But it's not just a transmission. It's something else." The bridge disappeared. Suddenly, Zhao found herself standing in what appeared to be a vast chamber, its walls alive with shifting patterns of light. Around her, she could see the translucent forms of her bridge crew, all experiencing the same projection. A figure approached, humanoid but clearly not human. Its body seemed to be composed of crystalline structures that flowed like liquid, and its eyes held the depth of centuries. "I am Nexus," it spoke, its voice resonating directly in their minds. "We have watched your choice with interest, Commander Zhao. Not all seeds of corruption bear corrupt fruit." "Why now?" Zhao asked, her military training warring with awe. "Why return after 3 centuries?" "Because now you are ready to understand." Nexus gestured, and the chamber filled with images, hundreds of hidden Helios colonies, thriving in dimensional pockets beyond normal space. "We did not merely survive. We transcended. What your ancestors sought to destroy, they only transformed." The images shifted, showing vast networks of living technology, ships that were grown rather than built, weapons that could restructure reality itself. "Your Confederation feared we would destroy their way of life," Nexus continued. "They were right, but not in the way they imagined. We offer evolution, not extinction." Suddenly, alarms pierced the vision. They were back on the bridge, but everything had changed. The tactical display showed massive fleet movements. The Confederation had launched Operation Sundering, their ultimate contingency plan. Multiple hyperspace ruptures. Bishop shouted. "They're deploying the Dark Fleet." Zhao's blood ran cold. The Dark Fleet. Experimental ships using forbidden technology stolen from the ruins of Helios worlds. Ships that had driven their crews mad, turned whole systems into gravitational impossibilities. They would rather destroy everything than admit their lies, Nexus's voice echoed in their minds. But we prepared for this too. Across the sector, hidden Helios colonies began to emerge from their dimensional sanctuaries. Their ships didn't just appear, they unfolded into existence, each one a masterpiece of bioengineered technology. Among them were vessels piloted by humans, descendants of those who had chosen to flee with the Helios during the Great Purge. "Commander," Rodriguez called out, "we're receiving transmissions from within Confederation space. Underground resistance cells, hidden colonies, research stations, they're all rising up." The tactical display transformed into a 3-dimensional map of the galaxy, showing the true extent of the Helios influence. They hadn't been hiding in empty space. They had been living alongside humanity all along, in dimensions just slightly out of phase with normal reality. "All ships, battle formation Delta," Zhao commanded. "We're not here to destroy the Confederation. We're here to save it from itself." The Dark Fleet emerged from hyperspace like a nightmare given form. Their hulls were black holes given shape, their weapons torn from physics itself. But as they approached, the Helios ships moved in perfect synchronization, not to attack, but to reveal. Each Dark Fleet vessel was suddenly illuminated from within, their stolen technology responding to its original masters. The crews, trapped in ships they never truly understood, found themselves experiencing something unprecedented: direct communication with the living technology they had tried to enslave. "You tried to wear our skin," Nexus broadcasted to the Dark Fleet. "Now feel our soul." The effect was immediate and devastating. Dark Fleet ships began to transform, their corrupted technology returning to its true nature. Crews emerged from their madness, many for the first time in years, as the living ships rejected the chains of Confederation control. In the chaos, Zhao received a priority transmission from Admiral Drake. "Commander, the High Council is preparing to activate the Omega Protocol. They'll destroy the core worlds rather than accept defeat." "Not if we reach them first," Zhao responded, already plotting a course to New Terra. "Nexus, can your people help us?" The crystalline being's form shimmered. "We will do more than help. We will show them what they could have become." The Eternal Dawn's engines pulsed with new energy as Helios technology merged with human engineering. Around them, more ships joined their cause, not just military vessels, but civilian ships, research vessels, even ancient exploration craft emerging from deep space, all drawn to the call of truth. "All ships," Zhao broadcast, her voice carrying across the fleet, "set course for New Terra. Today we don't fight for victory, we fight for redemption." As they prepared to jump, Nexus shared one final vision, a future where human and Helios technology merged, where the barriers between species dissolved, where the mistakes of the past became lessons for a better tomorrow. The battle for the future of humanity had begun, but it would not be won with weapons alone. The true war was for understanding, for evolution, for the right to become something more than fear and lies had allowed. Above New Terra, the combined fleet of humans and Helios prepared to make their stand. The awakening storm had arrived, and with it came not just the end of an era, but the birth of a new one. Commander Zhao looked at her crew, human, machine, and now something more, and knew that whatever came next, there would be no returning to the comfortable lies of the past. The storm would either break them or transform them, and she was ready to find out which. Lieutenant Kira Patel had never seen New Terra's orbital rings burn. From the bridge of the rebel ship Defiance, she watched as centuries of Confederation power crumbled into space debris. The combined fleet of human resistance and Helios vessels had arrived to find the capital world already at war with itself. Multiple breaches in the defense grid, her tactical officer, Vincent Torres, reported. "The planetary governor's forces are fighting against their own security teams. Looks like the truth hit hard down there." Kira nodded, her neural implants processing battlefield data at impossible speeds, a gift from their Helios allies. 3 days ago, she'd been a loyal Confederation officer. Now she commanded a hybrid crew of human rebels and Helios technologists, their ship transformed by living technology that seemed to respond to thought itself. New transmission from High Command, Communications Specialist Yuki Tanaka announced, her hands dancing over crystalline controls. They're activating the Terminus Protocol." The bridge fell silent. The Terminus Protocol, the Confederation's ultimate weapon, designed to rewrite the quantum signature of entire star systems. They would rather unmake reality than surrender power. "Show me," Kira commanded. The main view screen shifted, revealing the massive Terminus stations emerging from hyperspace. They looked like dark stars, their surfaces crawling with energy that hurt to look at. The Confederation had built them in secret, using corrupted Helios technology they barely understood. "Lieutenant," a melodic voice called. Kira turned to find Iris, their Helios science officer, her crystalline form pulsing with concerned light. "They don't understand what they're tampering with. The Terminus stations don't just destroy, they unwrite probability itself." Before Kira could respond, new alerts flashed across every screen. The Defiance's sensors detected massive energy signatures appearing throughout the sector. But these weren't Confederation forces, they were the hidden Helios worlds, their dimensional sanctuaries revealing themselves at last. "By the stars," Torres whispered. The sight was breathtaking. Entire planets phased into normal space, their surfaces covered in cities that seemed to be grown rather than built. Ships emerged by the thousands, each one unique, their biomechanical forms defying conventional engineering. This wasn't just a fleet, it was an entire civilization stepping out of legend. "All ships, battle formation," Kira broadcast. The Confederation dies today, but we're not here to replace one empire with another. We're here to break chains. The Defiance's engines hummed with new power as Helios technology merged deeper with the ship's systems. Around them, the combined fleet took position, rebel human ships alongside their Helios allies, their formations flowing like liquid metal through space. Multiple targets locked, Torres reported. The terminus stations are powering up. Not today, Kira muttered. Iris, show them what real Helios technology can do. The crystalline officer interfaced directly with the ship's systems. Suddenly, the Defiance's weapons transformed, becoming something that existed between reality and thought. They didn't fire energy or projectiles, they fired truth itself. The first terminus station shattered, not from destruction, but from revelation. Its corrupted technology remembered its true nature, turning on its masters. Across the battlefield, the same scene repeated as the Helios reclaimed their stolen legacy. But the Confederation had one last card to play. The capital's orbital platforms began to shift, revealing massive cannon arrays aimed not at the enemy fleet, but at New Terra itself. They would destroy their own capital rather than lose control. Incoming transmission, Tanaka called out. It's the High Council themselves. The message was brief. If we cannot rule, we will ensure there is nothing left to rule. You have 1 hour to surrender, or we will initiate planetary decomposition. Kira looked at her hybrid crew, humans and Helios working as one, each bringing their own strengths to this final battle. Iris, can we stop them? The crystalline being's form rippled with calculations. Not alone, but together. Lieutenant, there is a way, but it will change everything. Everything's already changed, Kira responded. Tell me. The plan was audacious. The Helios proposed linking their biological technology directly with the human crews, creating a temporary group consciousness that could coordinate at speeds impossible for traditional command structures. It would mean dropping all barriers, not just physical, but mental. The risk? Kira asked. We will all be changed, Iris answered simply. Evolution cannot be undone. Kira broadcast to the rebel fleet. This is Lieutenant Patel. We have a chance to end this, but it requires trust. Total trust. The Helios aren't just our allies. They're offering to show us what we can become. Across the fleet, crews made their choice. Ship after ship signaled acceptance. In the end, it wasn't about winning a war. It was about transcending it. The merger began. Through the Helios biotech, human consciousness expanded. Ships stopped being vessels and became extensions of will. The fleet moved as one organism, each part understanding its role in the greater whole. The Confederation's defenses, built on fear and control, couldn't comprehend what they faced. How do you fight an enemy that moves with perfect coordination, that knows your moves before you make them, that exists in multiple dimensions at once? The orbital platforms fell silent as their crews, linked to the greater consciousness, chose evolution over destruction. The terminus stations, their corrupted technology purified, transformed into bridges between dimensions. Even the High Council's bunkers, buried beneath kilometers of planetary crust, couldn't hide from a force that could read the quantum signatures of thought itself. It's done, Kira announced, her voice echoing through both physical space and the new mental network that connected the fleet. The Confederation's control is broken. But victory wasn't the end, it was just the beginning. As the linked consciousness of human and Helios minds touched, new possibilities emerged. They saw futures where technology served life rather than controlled it, where different species evolved together rather than fought, where the barriers between organic and mechanical, physical and digital, became meaningless. The chains were broken, but the real revolution was just beginning. Humanity had been offered a choice: remain bound by the limitations of their past, or step into an uncertain but unlimited future. As the sun rose over New Terra, Kira watched through both physical eyes and the expanded consciousness of the fleet. The old order had fallen, But from its ashes, something unprecedented was emerging, a civilization that combined the best of both species, ready to face whatever waited in the depths of space. The war was over. The evolution had begun. The heart of New Terra burned with impossible light, not from destruction, but from transformation. Captain Naomi Winters stood in what had once been the High Council chamber, now a nexus of crystalline growth and quantum probability, watching as history rewrote itself. The final Confederation holdouts have gone silent, reported Commander Junxiao, her consciousness simultaneously present both physically and through the merged network. The Deep Fleet has surrendered. Around them, the chamber had become a living interface between dimensions. Former Admiral Drake, his aged frame now partially merged with Helios biotechnology, monitored the changes spreading across known space. Lieutenant Kira Patel worked with Iris and other Helios scientists, stabilizing the massive transformation affecting both civilizations. "They're calling it the Great Synthesis," Winters said, watching the streams of data flowing through the crystalline growths. Not victory, not conquest, synthesis. The massive viewscreen showed scenes from across the galaxy. On 1,000 worlds, humans and Helios worked together, their technologies and consciousness merging in ways that defied old definitions of species and self. The rigid structures of the Confederation dissolved, replaced by organic networks of cooperation and shared evolution. "We've detected something," Nexus announced, their crystalline form materializing from streams of light. The High Council's final weapon, it's activating. Deep beneath the planetary crust, in bunkers they thought unreachable, the last loyal members of the High Council had initiated the Omega Singularity. Not just a weapon, but an attempt to tear open reality itself, to unmake the very fabric of space-time rather than accept defeat. "Show me," Winters commanded. The chamber's displays shifted, revealing the horrifying truth. The Omega Singularity wasn't just one weapon. It was a network of reality-warping devices planted throughout the galaxy, each one designed to cascade into the next, creating a chain reaction that would rewrite the universe according to the Council's vision. "They're mad," Drake whispered. "They'll destroy everything." "No," Kira stepped forward, her neural implants glowing with Helios energy. "They'll try to recreate everything. They want to reset the timeline, erase our choices, start over with their power intact." The first singularity activated, its energy signature distorting space itself. On nearby worlds, reality began to flicker, probability waves collapsing and reforming in chaotic patterns. The Council was trying to abort the future itself. "We can't stop it conventionally," Iris announced, her crystalline form pulsing with urgent light. "The cascade has begun." "Then we don't stop it," Winters declared. "We transcend it." The plan formed across the merged consciousness of the fleet. The Helios had spent centuries learning to exist between dimensions, to surf the waves of probability itself. Now they would share that knowledge, not just with their human allies, but with reality itself. "All ships," Winters broadcast, her voice carrying across both physical and mental space, "prepare for dimensional shift. We're not fighting the singularity, we're going to ride it." The combined fleet moved into position, each ship now a hybrid of human ingenuity and Helios evolution. They didn't try to contain the reality-warping energy. Instead, they channeled it, shaped it, turned destruction into transformation. "Now," Winters commanded. Every ship activated its dimensional drives simultaneously. But these weren't normal engines, they were conscious technology, alive with the merged minds of their crews. The fabric of space-time rippled, not in chaos, but in harmony. The Omega Singularity's energy met the combined will of two civilizations and found itself transformed. Reality didn't break, it transcended. The cascade of destruction became a wave of evolution, spreading across the galaxy at faster-than-light speeds. In the High Council's bunker, the last loyal members watched in horror as their final weapon became the tool of their obsolescence. The universe wasn't ending, it was becoming something more. "It's beautiful," Drake whispered, watching as the transformation spread. Stars didn't die, they gained new dimensions of existence. Planets didn't shatter, They evolved into quantum state worlds where multiple realities coexisted in harmony. The merged consciousness of the fleet expanded, touching minds across the galaxy. Every being, human or Helios, was offered a choice: remain as they were, or step into a new way of existing. Most chose to evolve. In orbit above New Terra, the original Helios ship that had started everything pulsed with completion. Their long mission, not of revenge, but of elevation, had succeeded. Humanity hadn't just survived its trial, it had transcended it. The transformation is stabilizing, Kira reported, her consciousness spanning multiple dimensions of reality. The galaxy is awakening. The dawn of a new era rose across space-time itself. The rigid boundaries between species, between organic and mechanical, between matter and energy, became fluid, dynamic, alive with possibility. The Confederation's fear of change had led them to try to freeze reality itself, but in doing so, they had catalyzed the greatest transformation in known history. Captain Winters stood in the transformed chamber, her consciousness touching both the physical world and the new dimensions that had opened. Around her, the combined fleet celebrated not victory, but transcendence. They had faced extinction and emerged evolved, faced destruction and emerged transformed. What now? Zhao asked, her form shifting between physical and energy states. Now, Winters smiled. We explore what we've become. The galaxy spread before them, not just in 3 dimensions, but in infinite possibilities. The Phantom Fleet had returned not to conquer, but to guide. The chains of the past were broken, and the future stretched out like an endless dawn. In the space where the High Council's chamber had once stood, a new council formed, not of rulers, but of guides. Human and Helios, physical and energy, past and future, all working together to navigate the transformed reality they now inhabited. The ancient warning had come true, but not as anyone had expected. The ghosts had returned, the truth had emerged, and the reckoning had come. But it wasn't an ending, it was a beginning. The dawn of something that neither humanity nor the Helios could have achieved alone. As the new day rose across all dimensions of existence, Captain Winters looked at her transformed crew, once enemies, now partners in evolution, and knew that the Real journey was just beginning. The universe had changed, and they had changed with it. The Phantom Fleet's mission was complete, but their legacy was just beginning. In the quantum probabilities of the transformed galaxy, infinite futures beckoned, each one a new chapter in the greatest adventure of all, the evolution of consciousness itself. The dawn of reckoning had come, and with it, the dawn of infinite possibility.